Hello everyone, this is Mahmoud. In this video, I'll show you how you can download files in the background and show real-time progress bar using Django and VueJs. So let me first show the admin panel. In Django, we have a simple model document. It has three records. Let me open one. As you can see, we have two fields, name and file. Normally, in case of downloading a file, we put the file path in the anchor tag. Let me inspect element this and edit edit as HTML. We can add download attribute to force download. After clicking this, we are able to download. But the problem with that, if I open the download tab, the user can get the file path, file name. So that can be copied and shared elsewhere, and somebody else can download this. So it has a security concern if you want to protect the file. So never share the actual file name as well as the file path. So this is the demo. In the select option, we just have the primary keys. Let me download one file. If I click download, we can see the real-time progress bar, as well as if I click the download tab, if I try to copy this link, nothing happens because it is a blob response from the request. So by this way, we can protect the files, show real-time progress bar using Django and Vue. By the way, we are using content disposition. Basically, content disposition is a response header which allows browsers to know the response is whether it can be showed in web page, part of the web page, or as an attachment. So we are using content disposition, Django REST framework for the API, and Vue.js. Okay, in the next part, we'll show how we can code everything from scratch. In the first part, we'll create the API. So let me show the model. It has two fields, name and file. So in admin panel, we just registered the model, and in URL, we have a path. And let me demonstrate the API view. It is a post request. We are getting the file ID. As you can see, we have a drop-down option where we can select the primary key. So I just put a file ID from request data as payload. And by getting the file ID, we are fetching the document object using document.objects.get ID equal to file ID. Now what we have to do is we have to open the file. So with open, and we will copy this selected file dot, this is the object, and in the object we have a field that is file dot path, and we have to read this as binary format. So we are putting the second argument as RB, as if. So finally, we have the file object in if, and we have to read the file data. That means the binary data. So we can write if dot read. So the information is stored here. And let me copy this. And we have to extract the extension of file. That is the last part after the dot. So we are just split texting the file path and getting the last part, and we have lower function. So that is the extension. I'm not writing this because this is not the main thing. Also, we have to change the file name. So we can write new file name because we don't want to share the real file name, real file path. We have to send the file in response. Okay, what we can do is we have an object dot file, sorry, dot name, plus we will generate UID, that is UID dot UID for and let me convert it to a string, and we are just concatenating the document's name with a UID. So we have a new file name. Okay. After that, the important part is we have to send the response, and we have to import HTTP response. Let me show. We have to import HTTP response, and we are getting Django REST framework response and other things imported. But okay, finally we need a variable that is response, HTTP response. We'll share the file data, that is the file data, and content underscore type, that will be application slash force download. We want to let users or client devices to download forcefully. So that's why we are passing the HTTP response, the file data, as well as the content type application slash force download. So the client will automatically download the response. And the important part is we have to send the content disposition header information. So what we can say, response is a list. So the value is content disposition, and we have to pass a string. The first part is attachment. That means we are sending a file that is a type of attachment. Okay. Then we have to send the file name equal. So we want to send the new file name and new extension. So actually, let me copy because it will be easier. Okay. So this is the file name. We are using the slugify function to remove any white spaces, as well as we are getting the slugify output, and we are concatenating with the extension. So this is the file name, and this is the attachment will be sent through response header. By default, we cannot access, I mean the client cannot access the content disposition header information. So we have to manually tell the browser to expose the header. But we can write that response. So basically, this is a dictionary, and we have to pass the value, key value pair. That means that is access, control, expose, headers. Okay. And what types of headers we want to expose? That is simply content disposition. If we don't do this, the client side will not be able to access this information. That means the attachment information and the file name. Finally, we will return the response. Okay, let me save this. And in the accept block, this is a very simple thing. You can customize this. Okay, let me open the Postman and try to hit the API. Okay, so let me click the send button. So in the body, as you can see, we received some information. Okay, this is not the main information. If I click the headers, we have received 12 headers. There's a lot more information there. But most important thing is content disposition. As you can see, this is the attachment, and we have the file name with UUID. So we have a unique file name that is not the actual file name. And access control expose header is content disposition. If I comment out this and save it and retry, so you can also send and download. So I can have the download file information. Okay, let me open this. So right now, this time we don't have the access control allow expose header. but we only have the content disposition. That means Postman can see this, but in real client application, for example, React or Vue or JavaScript cannot access this. So we have to put this information. So this is a simple API we have. Let me zoom out. So all we need this, and we are putting a post request. We don't need enforce CSRF. It doesn't matter. So this is the first part. In the second part, I will describe how we can download and show real-time progress bar using VueJs and Axios. In this part, we will show in VueJs how we can download in the background and show the progress bar using Axios. So this is a very simple template. We have a progress bar, bootstrap progress bar. The important part is the style attribute where we can set the width to 0 to 100. We have a variable percent completed in the data object. By default, initially it is set to 0. And here we are printing the percentage. In the select option, we just have the primary keys. And by default, it is set to 5 in V model binding. And this is the download button. It will only show if downloading is false and percent completed value is less than 100. Otherwise, that text will be shown. And we have also a clear download function. This is very simple. We just setting the downloading variable to false and percent completed to 0. This is the important function, asynchronous download. We are sending an async request, so we will write this. This is the front end. So let me just complete the download function. Also, this is the endpoint. We will hit the request. Localhost 8000/API/download, and we will send a post request. Anyway, I have Axios installed. This is basically a Next project. I have many things here, but if I so I have so many things. So you can install Axios, and we can send request using Axios. I'll share the code in my Medium article. You don't need to worry. You can copy and paste everything. Okay. So the next step is we will have a dictionary or an object that is file underscore ID that will be this dot selected file. We will have to send a payload. As you can see in the API, we have to send a payload file underscore ID, which is an integer, and we are passing this, and we are getting from this select v model binding. Okay, now we will have await this dollar Axios. We have an asynchronous method, and we have await, and we are calling Axios. And first, we need to specify the method, that is post, comma. We have to specify the URL, that is localhost slash 8000/API/download. This is the endpoint. And important part is we are we are accepting the blob data. That means the file, the binary information is sent from the Django as HTTP response. We have to receive the binary data. So the type, response type should be blob. So the response type should be blob, and the data has to be data. So this is the thing we can do. Also in Axios, we have on download progress function, which has progress event, and this is an arrow function, and we can write. So in this function, we will actually calculate the percent of download. That means the progress of the event occurred. How we can do this? Let me first have a variable that is percent completed equal. So in the progress event object, okay, in the progress event object, what we can do is we can get two things, that is progress event dot loaded, and another thing we can have that progress event dot total. So we'll get two values. First is loaded, that means how much download is completed, and that is the total file size or total size. So what we can do is we can multiply with 100 with the loaded and divide by the total event size, that is total. And we will use math dot round function. Okay, and finally, this dot percent completed equal to percent completed. We can write directly, but for better explanation, I've written in 2 lines. So this is the way we can have the download progress, that is on download progress. Okay, fine. And in the closing parenthesis, we have a then block. And in the then block, we will have the response. And it is also an arrow function. And here we will extract the file name. We will create a temporary anchor tag and download in the background. So how we can do this? Okay, let me copy this because the video is going too long. So we are extracting the file name from response header, that is content disposition. One thing you have to remember in the backend, the C and the D is in capital letter, but in the front end, we have to write in smaller letter. So response header, we are splitting the file name. As you can see in the information, that is attachment. This is a string basically. So we can separate using a semicolon. And after the semicolon, we have file name and equal. And after that, we have the file name. Okay, so actual file name. So we are extracting the file name and the first part, and we are splitting using the semicolon and replacing all those white spaces and other stuffs. And by doing this, we are getting the file name. You can console log this. Okay. Now the important part is we will create a URL object, that is window dot URL dot create object URL, and that object URL will create a blob URL, that is new blob. We'll have a blob object, and here we'll pass a list or an array, that is the response dot data. Whatever response we receive, the data that will convert it into a blob, and that will be a URL object that will be stored in a constant, that is URL. Fine, then const, we will generate on the fly a new element, that is document dot create element, that is an anchor tag, because as you can see in the first part in video, we have put the download attribute in an anchor tag. By doing this, we can download files. So similar thing we have an anchor tag that will be added in the body. So that link dot href, that is the source, will be the URL. That means that URL is stored in this anchor tag, which has been dynamically created on the fly, and the href is the URL. And we'll also have to set the attribute, that is download, comma, main file name. So by doing this, users can download using that file name. Fine. And finally, we have to attach this newly created element in document body.append child. It's just doing this. And robotically, we have to click this. Fine. If everything is okay, then we are good to go. Let me check. Let me refresh this. Okay. As you can see, we are able to download the file. So we can change the file. Okay, let me clear this. We can change the file. So we are having those files in the download section. Let me open. Okay. If I try to copy this, I'll not be able to download or share this link because this is a response type is blob. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll be sharing more tutorials on Elasticsearch, type sense, full text search, and other useful information related to Django, Laravel, React, and Vue. Please subscribe my channel. Thank you.